I know I just did 2 videos in the last 2 days about the RAM situation, but oh my goodness, when I said it was bad and then that we got more news saying it was worse, I guess today's video could have been titled, It Gets Even Worser, because I don't care about English, and that's accurate because oh my goodness, in this video, I talked about direct statements from Samsung and SK Hynix about how they're not planning on ramping up production in order to not get hold the bag if they invest a bunch in that and consumer demand drops. Like what they didn't really say is what if the AI bubble pops or something like that. But what we didn't get in that video was a statement from Micron. Now, Micron has now issued a statement. Now, why does Micron matter? So SK Hynix and Samsung together make up about 70% of the memory manufacturing. Pretty much the rest of it is Micron. Okay, so this was the other big player. And this is the worst statement we could possibly get from them from a PC gamer perspective. Micron announces exit from crucial consumer business. Now, by crucial here, they don't mean the word crucial, because they clearly don't think their consumer business is crucial because they are exiting it. So crucial is the branding under which Micron sold storage like SSDs and memory like RAM. And so this was their consumer business. Consumer business is like you and me. We're PC gamers buying stuff, to build our gaming PCs. So they're just exiting it. So yeah, it's definitely not crucial to their business strategy. Now, this is just directly from Micron. This is posted on micron.com. All my sources will be in the video description today. By the way, we have other news topics to talk about. It's not just the RAM thing. So if you're sick about hearing of that, check the timestamps. But let's dive into this a little bit because this also is backing up what I was saying in this video where I got some pushback in the comments. Because in this video, I was addressing that there's been this trend in comment sections and Reddit forums and all sorts of stuff where a lot of people are saying if we as gaming PC users just refuse to buy RAM at these high prices, the price will come down. And in that video, I was giving people the harsh truth that that is just not the case because the supply and demand situation is we're just the tiny drop in the bucket and these companies basically don't care. This is the most direct statement that we could get from one of these companies that I was accurate in my assessment of that. Because how important is the PC gaming market? Would it matter to Micron if we boycotted their products completely? No, they are choosing to just stop selling to us anyway because they don't care. There's larger profits to be made if they allocate their resources elsewhere. And where? The AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made the difficult decision to exit the crucial consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger strategic customers in faster-growing segments. In other words, we don't care about the gaming PC users or just PC users in general on an individual level. All of the money is in AI data center. That's where we can make big margins. That's where there's big growth. We are exiting the consumer business. That's how effective your boycott would be. They can just not sell to you and make more money by making that decision. That's what we're seeing here, okay? So, it's just what it is. Now, their direct statement, again, is just saying that Micron Technology, a leader in innovative memory and storage solutions, today announced its decision to exit the crucial consumer business, including the sale of crucial consumer-branded products at key retailers, e-tailers, and distributors worldwide. Now, there are some details here. Micron will continue crucial consumer product shipments through the consumer channel until the end of fiscal quarter 2, which is February of 2026. So in other words, this isn't happening immediately. They are still making shipments and will continue to do so through February. But by the end of February, they are going to stop shipping the consumer market, which is your DRAM and your SSDs. So those are just going to stop going out. Now, if they're getting to distributors in February, it's possible they'll still hit store shelves for some time, weeks or months after that, but they will no longer be resupplied. So that means we are just going to have less supply of SSDs and RAM for consumers like us, PC builders. And so that just means that the supply and demand equation, which is driving up prices insanely, is absolutely getting worse in the future. Because, yeah, like I said in my previous video, Samsung already said they're not going to be building out a bunch of additional capacity. And by the way, even if they were, they're going to focus it on the AI data center. SK Hynix kind of saying similar stuff. They're talking about making expansions to production, but focusing on the newer, high bandwidth memory stuff, all of that. All of them making it very clear their focus on any kind of production increase, if any, is on the AI data center. And by the way, it is important to, again, understand why they wouldn't want to build out production, because some people are just saying this is entirely a greed thing. Well, I mean, the company's job is to make money. So they're going to do it where they feel like the money is, which is clearly AI data center right now. But also, the reason they don't want to ramp up production to some crazy amount is that takes a huge capital expenditure and time. And what if this AI bubble pops, right? So they invest tons of money spinning up additional capacity, then the AI bubble pops. Well, now they have to eat the bag. The pricing goes down. They're stuck with the bag. And this has happened to memory manufacturers in the past. There's been these boom and bust cycles. So I do understand their thinking. This doesn't mean they're like, I see comments that are like, these companies are evil, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're trying to do what makes sense for their business, which is to chase profits where the profit is and to not expand wildly if they think that it could have a negative impact on them. It's just the downside for us is that means prices are going to go up. The resources they are allocating is going to be focused on AI data center, which means that like employees and production facilities, et cetera, that could be making us, a gaming PC RAM isn't, right? And while SK Hynix and Samsung might still at least make us some, Micron is just completely abandoning the gaming PC market entirely. So there's that. So what control do we have over this as gaming PC enjoyers? I really don't think we have any. Like, I'm not saying go out and buy it at inflated prices. And sure, absolutely, you could boycott it. But how much are they going to care about that boycott? I mean, stuff like this means probably not at all. Like, if we don't buy it, they'll just shift over to producing more AI data center. When will this get better? Again, in this previous video, I looked at quotes from SK Hynix and Samsung, which indicated 2027, 2028, maybe at the soonest. So what can we do? I mean, not a whole heck of a lot, to be honest. Now, is there any good news? Well, let's say that SSD storage space gets really expensive because of all of this. Well, at least if you play Helldivers 2, I've got some good news on that front. The install size for Helldivers 2 has been optimized. Now get this is actually insane. Down from 154 gigabytes to 23 gigabytes. And no, I'm not saying they have reduced it by 23 gigabytes. I'm saying it has decreased from 154 gigabytes to 23 gigabytes. That is a loss of 131 gigabytes. That is an 85% reduction in the storage needed to install this game. That is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, you might wonder, how could they possibly be doing this? Well, one thing is that they're getting some help on the optimization front from Nixies, which is a PC porting studio that works with PlayStation properties quite a bit. So a lot of, not all, but a lot of PlayStation games that get ported to PC are worked on by Nixies. Now, Helldivers 2 wasn't given that Nixies treatment initially, but is now getting help from Nixies for optimization. Now, where are they finding all of this ability to optimize? Well, it's by deduplicating data. Now, you might wonder, like, were the original devs just so incompetent that they just had tons and tons of duplicate files that they didn't need? And the answer to that is not exactly. Those weren't there by accident. They were there on purpose. So if you are considering your game might be played on mechanical hard drives, then there are some tricks you can do to help the performance on mechanical hard drives for load times. On a mechanical spinning disk, having the data you're loading physically close to the other stuff you're loading at any given time, having it actually physically close on the hard disk improves the performance. Whereas on solid state drives, that's not important. So by putting duplicate copies of data next to other things where it would be loaded at the same time, it improves the performance on the mechanical drives. Now, if you're wondering, does this now mean that the game is going to play worse on mechanical drives? The answer is mostly no, but slightly yes. Now, they're saying, now I haven't tested this, but they're saying that in their internal rounds of quality assurance, they're saying that their testing shows that the small percentage of players still using mechanical hard disks, for them, mission loading times have increased, but only by a few seconds in the worst cases. Also, this is currently isolated to a public technical beta. So if you want access to this version, it's not the normal version on Steam. You have to go into your Steam options and opt in to a beta branch of the game, and then you can get access to this. But if everything goes well, this will probably be rolled out in the main version of the game. I just think this is interesting. I wonder how many other games do this, because game install sizes are just crazy big now. And I'm wondering how many other games could significantly reduce their install size if they also deduplicated stuff that they might be duplicating for performance reasons on hard disk drives. Now, they do also talk about, like, so why isn't it that much worse? And by reading through this, it sounds like the gist of it is, when they're on load screens, the game is doing additional things in beyond just actually loading, because they actually do some generation calculations during that load screen, and those are happening in parallel. So your load time is what takes the longest, generating the level or actually loading in the assets. And so if it takes time to generate the calculations that are happening, then maybe your load times weren't taking very long compared to that generation. So even if your actual loading got 10 times worse, but that still means that it's similar length in time to the other calculations that are happening during the load screen, then your increase to loading time is only the amount of time that it increased beyond anything else that was happening in parallel. So I just thought this was interesting with everybody talking about game optimization. Now, install sizes isn't usually the thing that people are that upset about. But hey, if SSD get more expensive because we're losing supply on that, then hey, at least this game is getting better. And I just thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. Now, Helldivers 2 is actually doing pretty well on the Steam charts still. It's been out for a while. It's certainly been going down, so it's no longer in the top 10. But it's still peaking at around 70,000 concurrent players. It's currently sitting at number 17. It kind of bounces around at any given time of day. That's certainly down from its all-time peak of like 460,000, but it's still hanging in there. Now, the games that are trending really big right now on Steam are Arc Raiders and Battlefield 6 and Where the Winds Meet. Where the Winds Meet, free to play, so it makes sense why a lot of people getting in on that. But Arc Raiders, given that the game actually costs money, is actually doing number 3 on Steam right now. Now, it's also released more recently than Battlefield 6, so, there's that. But still, currently right now, 250,000, 24-hour peak, 290,000. Now, I'm bringing this up because Arc Raiders is, we're starting to get some stats for the game. It's reportedly the best-selling game on Steam for November, and has sold over 7.7 million copies. This game is having huge success, and it's been fairly optimized in my testing. Now, the 7.7 million number is not just on Steam. That also includes Xbox and PlayStation numbers. But they're generating a lot of revenue here. Looks like $250 million plus. And if you combine Steam and PlayStation and aren't looking at concurrent users, but just daily active users, they're claiming 2 million. So quite a bit here. Now, a game that is not showing up very highly in the Steam charts now, although it did at the beginning of the year, is Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, I'm only bringing this up because we're talking about these other games that are performing well on Steam, and I saw this headline today, so I just wanted to talk about it. I would appreciate it if you could pick it up again. Monster Hunter Wilds director pleads with lapsed players to return. So let's look at the numbers on Steam. Now, obviously, Steam is not the only place where people play this game. It's on consoles too. But this game had an absolutely insane concurrent player count on Steam when it launched 9 months ago. It had almost 1.5 million, not just players, but concurrent players. That means logged in at the same time. That means the actual sales figures were multiple times that amount on Steam. Huge sales. And this being a, online multiplayer game, somewhat of a live service title, they want to hang on to high concurrent players. Well, concurrent players right now, as my time of filming, is under 7,000, although the 24-hour peak is at least hitting 20,000. If I look at the rank on the Steam charts, that's not even putting it in the top 100 right now. So that's certainly not amazing, because the top 100, you have to be over 11,000 right now, and we're down at under 7,000. Anyway, so now is he giving a reason to return? Let's hear him out. So he's saying that they made the game too easy. Now, I would argue that that's one of the problems, but also the game was very unoptimized, which might lead to it not being a pleasant experience to play on PC, but clearly a lot of people bought it and were playing it, so that can't be the only issue. He's saying that we analyzed what kinds of places beginners were stuck in, including on Monster Hunter World, and we've worked on these points in turn to make it easier for new users to clear hurdles, such as being able to reach certain monsters or to craft certain types of armor. In addition, we've tried to adopt as many new elements as possible that are beneficial for both beginners and existing users, such as focus mode. This time, as a result of making the game easy to beat even for new players and players who could not clear it before, I think the difficulty curve was a little lacking for existing users. So he's thinking that it was too easy. But he is saying that they've introduced additional content and a revamped endgame to offer more challenge, and that's why he's now asking for, if you beat the game immediately after its release and stop playing, I would appreciate it if you could pick it up again. Now, I'm going to be honest, my issue with the game wasn't the endgame content. I just kind of bounced off the very beginning of the game. I thought the performance was bad for the visuals, and that's not everything. I also just didn't find the gameplay interesting. But I'm not a good person to ask about Monster Hunter games because I'll be honest, I've tried several of them, and I've always bounced off after a few hours. I just don't enjoy the gameplay loop. I don't know if that's just a me problem, but it's certainly a personal preference thing. But anyway, I just thought this was an interesting topic, given that we've covered Monster Hunter Wilds quite a bit on the channel, and we're looking at games that have had some more staying power versus the games that seems to have not. So there you go. Now, my favorite game of the year, probably, there's some other ones up there, but I think I'd give it Game of the Year, is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. There's been some other really good games released this year. Also really liked Hades 2. I'm really enjoying Sectori, which I made a community post about, and not a lot. If you want to talk about a game with not a lot of players, that's one. It's a lot like Geometry Wars. It's a twin stick shooter, but I think it's the best one I've ever played. I'm still playing it a ton on my Steam Deck, and it runs on anything if your PC is not great right now, guys. Anyway. But Clair Obscur Expedition 33, we're getting some stats saying that it was the biggest new third-party Xbox Game Pass game launch in 2025. So when you look at sales figures for Expedition 33, for such a highly rated game, the sales figures I think are fine for the development studio size and everything, but if they weren't like as crazy as you might expect for a game with this kind of buzz, I think a large portion of that could be the fact that it was absolutely huge on Game Pass, which means those people didn't actually buy the game. Now, I don't know what sort of revenue sharing deal they have with Microsoft regarding how much they get paid for those Game Pass plays, but that's where a lot of the players were, and it was the biggest new third-party Xbox Game Pass launch in 2025. Now, we do have a few other interesting news topics for us before we close out the video. One of them is that if you bought an RTX 5090 for like $3,000, like the ROG Matrix version, that one might, is that one actually more than $3,000? I could double check. But the point is, you would hope that there had been very careful quality assurance and you are getting a product that is like perfection. And we've already had the issues with melting connectors on 5090s, etc. But apparently there's some other kind of problem with the ROG Matrix 5090. It's been hit by some sort of quality issue and apparently shipments are paused. Now I found this on videocards.com. Again, all my sources will be in the video description. But they're taking it from the ROG forums where there apparently is discussion of an email sent by inet.se to ROG Matrix pre-orders saying, I am contacting you regarding your order for the ASUS GeForce RTX 5090 32GB ROG Matrix Platinum 30th Anniversary Edition. What a long name, guys. Do you see how long the name of that product is? Wow, that's insane. Anyway, unfortunately, we have been informed by ASUS that they have identified a quality issue with this particular model. Due to this, we are unable to deliver the card as planned. ASUS is currently working on a replacement version without these issues, but at this time, there is no estimated date for when a new copy will be available. We fully understand that this is an unfortunate situation, but unfortunately it is completely beyond our control. So we don't really know what the issue is. It's just quality problems of some kind. Also news, Nvidia has ended support for GTX 900 and GTX 10 series in Linux with driver branch 590. Now that's affecting Linux users, and I don't think there's a ton of, first of all, there's not a ton of Linux users percentage-wise, and then even of them, NVIDIA doesn't always play as nicely in Linux as AMD does, but if you're a GTX 900 or 10 series user on Linux, then bear this in mind. Also, my mouse battery has finally run out. Man, I use these Logitech G305s. One AA battery lasts for so many months that I don't even think about the battery running out. It just ran out, guys. We'll try to keep going. I think if I turn it on and off again, we might get another few seconds out of it, because I have one more story I want to click on. A Chinese GPU maker, Li Swan, demos the 7G106 GPU running 3D Mark test on Windows on ARM. So this is interesting because to my knowledge, AMD and Nvidia GPU drivers don't support Windows on ARM, probably because Windows on ARM is pretty much laptop devices. So it's interesting that one of these, kind of more obscure Chinese GPUs is apparently has working drivers on Windows on ARM. So that's just an interesting story. Now, whether this GPU ends up being interesting for my viewers or anything, that's a whole other thing. I just find it interesting that it has Windows on ARM support before AMD and Nvidia do. Now, I better click the stop recording button before my mouse dies again and I'm unable to end this video, because then this will be a really long video and you'll never see it because I won't be able to post it without a mouse and ending the recording. I hope all of you manage to have an excellent day despite the RAM news.